and you're listening to The Takeover with Daz and Holly, and I am so excited right now because it's time for one of these
Wellness Wednesdays on The Takeover, brought to you by station sponsor Kelli K Naturopath. Book your free intro call today at kellik.com.au.
Yes, that's right. We're joined right now by Kelli K Naturopath over on Zoom. Kelli, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you going?
Yeah, good. Going very well, thank you. And Holly, also going well?
Yeah, very well, thank you.
Fantastic. Kelli, so keen to do another Wellness Wednesday with yourself. And what we're talking about tonight is chronic fatigue syndrome, because it's at CFS Awareness Month, I believe, at the moment. Is that right?
It is, that's right. So May 12th, which was also Mother's Day, was also International Awareness Day for chronic fatigue syndrome.
Yeah.
And so, yes, this is the month to talk about it.
Oh, fantastic. So perfect timing. So, Kelli, so for those who might not be too familiar with CFS or chronic fatigue syndrome, could you tell us a little bit about what chronic fatigue syndrome actually is, and what are the signs and what are the symptoms?
Yeah, absolutely. So chronic fatigue syndrome is also called myalgic encephalomyelitis.
Okay.
Hence why we don't use that term very often.
Very
it's very
scientific name, yes.
So, but you'll often see it written as ME/CFS for that reason. And it is a neuroimmune disorder. So it involves the nervous system and the immune system, and it affects the whole body. And so the central feature or symptom is fatigue, but really abnormal fatigue, and fatigue that isn't relieved by rest, and also can get worse by exercise or exerting yourself in any way. So that's the key central feature. And then there's a whole host of other symptoms that go along with it. So pain and headaches and migraines and sore throats and digestive issues. There's a lot.
Yeah, right.
And it can be different for people, experience it in different ways, different severities. About a quarter of people are so sick that they can't leave their house or sometimes their bed. So it can really impact people's lives very severely.
Yeah. It's really interesting. And one of the questions we have is, what causes chronic fatigue syndrome?
The jury's still out on one true cause, but we do know from the research that there are a few different factors involved. One is the nervous system not being regulated properly. That plays a huge part. Secondly, there's gut health issues, so changes in the microbiome and changes in inflammation in the gut can drive symptoms. And then there's immune system dysregulation, so changes in the way the immune system's functioning, low-grade inflammation, and all of this combines together to create issues in the mitochondria, which are the little batteries found in almost all human cells that are responsible for the production of energy. So it's very complex, and it gets quite complicated when you start digging into the nitty-gritty of it.
Yeah. Wow. That's interesting. So naturally, all of us do, to a limit, feel, tired. But, what you were mentioning about CFS is that it's not just that. It's also, it's abnormal tiredness. It's not what everyone sort of feels. It's a bit more longer lasting. But I guess, in what way is it different from other forms of, I guess, tiredness and fatigue? Yeah,
sure. So when most healthy people, we all get fatigued from time to time, and some people might even experience chronic fatigue due to other causes. But this is different in that when most people feel fatigue or tired, they modify their activity levels, they get more sleep, they rest, they they might even get a bit more active, and all of that results in improving energy levels. With people with chronic fatigue syndrome, it's almost the opposite. So, rest is important for managing symptoms, but it doesn't resolve the fatigue. So people can get all the sleep in the world and they still wake up tired.
Wow.
And the other really key feature is that as soon as you start to do any sort of activity, and when I say activity, I'm not even talking about just going for a run. I'm talking about taking a shower, or answering emails or making a meal, like things that take energy, but things that we don't necessarily think about as high energy activities become very, very difficult, because as soon as you start to exert yourself, that fatigue can get worse.
Yeah, wow. That's certainly interesting. Kelli, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to go a bit more into about how to recognize the differences between abnormal fatigue and normal tiredness symptoms, and also what to do if you feel like your fatigue isn't quite normal, if it's a bit unusual and maybe a bit more towards, I guess, CFS and that sort of stuff. So when we come back, Kelli, we'll talk all about that. Yes, and we are currently in the middle of our Wellness Wednesday with Kelli Kay, Naturopath. Kelli, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm well, thank you. Doing well.
Fantastic. Now, Kelli, what we're talking about tonight is chronic fatigue syndrome, as it currently is CFS Awareness Month. So it's quite topical, quite timely to talk about it right now. And so we've sort of started off by going into what CFS is and how is it caused and how it sort of, differs from the just regular tiredness that we all feel. But we also have another question about how to actually recognize the difference.
Yeah, so how can we recognize the difference between normal tiredness and abnormal fatigue? Because I think sometimes we go, oh, I'm really tired. But how will we actually be able to recognize that can be a sign of CFS?
Yeah, so I suppose one of the key things is that if you are doing all the right things, like you're eating well and getting good sleep and doing some gentle movement, and you're still feeling quite extreme fatigue, or if that fatigue is stopping you from doing daily activities, sort of normal tasks that you would expect to be able to do, fatigue that you can't really push through. If you try and push through it, you get worse. That's a big sign. And also fatigue that you feel is disproportionate to the amount of activity that you're doing and the amount of stress that you're under. So if you're super busy and, they've got a lot of stress, you're juggling lots of things, got lots of study on, something like that, and, then it's quite normal that you might feel an extra level of fatigue during that season. But if you're not doing all those things and you're still feeling quite fatigued, then I would say, just explore that and get checked out. And the other thing is, if that fatigue is coming, there are other symptoms alongside that fatigue. So if you're also getting headaches or digestive issues or not recovering from illness like viruses and things like that, then, or if the fatigue has come on after a virus and is not resolving, then that's when I would be thinking, oh, maybe there's something else going on here.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And so I guess when it actually comes to feeling fatigue or feeling tiredness, what do you do if you start to recognize those signs that this doesn't quite feel normal? I don't usually feel like this. I feel a lot more tired. I've taken plenty of rest and I'm still feeling fatigued. What do you do if you start feeling that? And also, what do you not do?
Yeah, okay. So we'll start with what you do. Well, first, what you don't do. You don't ignore it.
Yeah.
And you don't assume that it's just stress or just, just work or just, being a mum or, something like that. That's what you don't do.
Yeah.
What you do is the first point of call probably is to go and visit your GP and get some investigations and make sure there's nothing else going on.
Sure.
Also explore, I would say, what sorts of changes can you make that are within your control? So making sure that you're eating well and prioritizing sleep and doing all those sorts of things. And then I would say try and work with a nutritionist or a naturopath or something like that who can do a thorough assessment and give you a bit of a better understanding of where that fatigue might be coming from and give you some more specific recommendations as to what you can do to mitigate that fatigue. The one other thing I would say about that is that when you do go, it's very, very common for people with chronic fatigue syndrome to have very long periods before they're able to get diagnosis, because it's basically a process of eliminating everything else that's wrong, and then do you fit within that diagnostic criteria? Yes, you do, and then you get the diagnosis. But it can be years, and it's not uncommon for people to just get told, oh, just go and exercise more, or just go and stress less or sleep more. So if you experience that, try not to lose hope and don't give up. If you know something is not quite right in your body, go and get a second opinion.
Yeah, fantastic. Great advice there, Kelli. And also, you actually have an online workshop that you are running about chronic fatigue syndrome. Could you tell us a little bit about that, and people want to, join it? Like, what's it all about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm running this workshop. It's a free workshop. The first one I'm running this Friday, and the second one is on the 25th of May. This will be suitable for people who have chronic fatigue syndrome or suspect that they do. Also suitable for people with post-viral fatigue, like or the long COVID type situation, and also fibromyalgia as well. You can go to my website or my Facebook page to find the event details and to register for that as well. So kellik.com.au with Kelli with an I is the website, and you should be able to scroll down. It's there on the home page. And my Facebook, if you search Kelli K Naturopath, it should come up and you'll see the events there as well.
Fantastic. Kelli, thank you so much for coming on the show for another Wellness Wednesday. Kelli, thank you. We cannot thank you enough. It's absolutely fantastic. And we look forward to talking with you again very, very soon.
Wellness Wednesdays on The Takeover, brought to you by station sponsor Kelli K Naturopath. Book your free intro call today at kellik.com.au.